The first thing we have to do when investing in stocks is to create a list of the companies we want to follow. That is, a list of potential companies to invest. This list is called the watch list. Before going into details about the watch list, it is important to mention that the daily time period during which financial instruments are traded at the market is called the trading day. In general, stock markets are in operation Monday to Friday for a period of just over 6 hours. The opening and closing hours of each day will depend on the market we are analyzing. Here is an example of what a watch list is. Basically, it is a table where the information of the quotes of the companies we want to follow is shown. Precisely in the first column, on the left, we see the symbols of the companies we are following. The information provided in the other columns will be analyzed next. Basically, the information provided by a watch list corresponds to level 1 quotes. So, trading with this information means trading with level 1 quotes. As previously said, the first column, called Symbol, shows the symbol of the company we are following. In this case, AAPL, which corresponds to the Apple Company. In the second column, we have the last, which is the last price that the stock has traded at during the day. If the trading day is finished, the last represents the close, which is also called the closing price. Then we have what is known as percentage change, which is the percentage change of the stock price relative to the previous day's closing price. That is, it indicates, in percentage, how much the stock price has changed at this time relative to the previous day's closing price, that is, the close. As we can see in the example, the percentage change is minus 1.73%. That means that at this time, the shares of Apple fell 1.73% relative to the previous day's closing price. So, 377.48, which is the last, that is the current stock price, is 1.73% below the value at which the stock closed the previous day. On the other hand, the net change column indicates the net change of the stock price relative to the previous day's closing price. So, the percentage previously seen here is expressed in net values. As we can see in the example, the net change is negative 6.66. This value expressed as percentage is precisely minus 1.73%. One of the most important values is what is known as the bid. It is the highest price a buyer is willing to pay for a share of the stock. The bid is also called buy side, and it represents the demand. So, the bid is the best price a prospective buyer is willing to pay for a share of the stock. On the other hand, the ask is the lowest price a seller is willing to accept for a share of the stock. The ask is also called sell side, and it represents the offer. So, the ask is the best price a prospective seller is willing to accept for a share of the stock. The bid represents the demand. The ask represents the offer. The difference between the bid and the ask prices is called the spread, and it represents the liquidity of a stock. The lower the spread, the better, because this is a sign of good liquidity. Usually, these companies have a good volume of transactions, which makes the buying and selling operations easier. Another interesting parameter is what is known as volume, which is the number of shares traded during the course of the day. Like the spread, it represents if the stock has liquidity. The higher the volume, the better, because this is a sign of good liquidity. On the other hand, the open indicates the first price that the stock has traded at during the day, which is known as the opening price. That is, the open is the price of the first transaction of the current trading day. It is important to mention that a transaction is made when the bid equals the ask. On the other hand, the high is the highest price that the stock has traded at during the day. It is the highest price of the day. In contrast, the low is the lowest price that the stock has traded at during the day. It is the lowest price of the day. On the other hand, the value, called 52 high, indicates the highest price that the stock has traded at during the last year. That is, during the last 52 weeks. That is why its name refers to the number 52. In contrast, the 52 low is the lowest price that the stock has traded at during the last year. That is, during the last 52 weeks. As previously mentioned, all the above information is shown on the watch list, and it corresponds to Level 1 quotes. On the other hand, at Level 2 quotes, we not only see all the previous information, but also the buy and sell sides, that is, the bid and the ask prices, in more detail. Here's a figure corresponding to a screen that shows quotes at Level 2. The values correspond to the Apple Company, and we can see the following. On the left, there is a column named Bid with several rows. The marked row indicates the current best bid, which is precisely the bid value shown in Level 1 quotes, that is, the value shown on the watch list. The bid is the price buyers are willing to pay for a share of the stock. The best price of them, that is, the best selling price being offered, is the one in red, which is indicated as the bid in Level 1 quotes. In the bid column, as we move down the rows, we can see how the bid price changes. The row selected here indicates 385.10. But if we move to the fifth row, we notice that the bid is 385.09. That is, a lower bid. So those buyers are willing to pay 385.09 for a share of the stock. The buyers who offer the highest price to buy a share of the stock are those offering 385.10. That is why this value is the current best bid. In the same way, on the right side, we can see the ask, that is, the lowest price a seller is willing to accept for a share of the stock. Right now, we can see the current best ask, which is the one provided by Level 1 quotes. As we saw previously for the bid, if we move down the rows of the ask column, we can see how the ask price increases. That is, sellers demand more money to sell a share of the stock. The sellers who demand the lowest price to sell a share of the stock are those asking 385.17. This value is the current best ask, and it is the one shown on the watch list. In Level 2 quotes, it is also displayed what is known as bid size, which is the number of shares, expressed in hundreds, being offered for purchase at the current best bid. Right now, according to the figure, buyers are willing to buy 61,500 shares at the current best bid, that is, at 385.10. In the same way, we have what is known as ask size, which is the number of shares, expressed in hundreds, being offered for sale at the current best ask. Right now, according to the figure, sellers are willing to sell 10,000 shares at the current best ask, that is, at 385.17. Finally, for both the ask and the bid, in the second column there is a symbol referring to what is known as market maker or ECN, which indicates who is in charge of the transaction. The market makers and ECNs, which stands for Electronic Communications Networks, are responsible for routing the orders generated by the different brokers. That is, when we enter an order to buy or sell a particular stock over the Internet, the broker routes that order to the market through the market makers and ECNs. Precisely, in the second column, we can see the acronym of the ECN that is in charge of routing that order at that time. In general, Level 2 quotes, as it provides investors with more detailed information, is used for day trading. So it is for investors who make short-term trades. On the other hand, Level 1 quotes, which corresponds to the information provided by the watch list, is used for swing and long trading, that is, for medium-term and long-term trades.